Today I want to share with you this tool that was made by Bill Hahn for the purpose of bending the barrel or eye of a hinge that the pin will go through. And that's what this tool does. Now Bill made this tool, and he was a great teacher to all of us blacksmiths here in Northern Ohio, our mentor to us all. And before he passed away, he asked me to take this tool and to demonstrate its use and show how it was made. And so that's the purpose that we're doing this here today. Now you can see the beautiful eye that this tool will bend and roll on a flat bar for your hinge. Now I don't want to confuse this. This is just rolling up an eye on this. I don't want to confuse this with traditionally, or making a traditional hinge like this. Okay, this one's forge welded back on the back side. I'll show that later in another video. That's not what we're doing here today. Today we're just going to roll an eye to make a modern day hinge. But we're going to do it quickly and consistently. They'll all be the same with a really nice way of doing it. Alright, this is right out of Donald Streeter's book, Professional Smithing. It's right out of that book. You can find it in there. Here he calls it the hinge eye bender. And there's the pictures, and he explains about it right there. Talks a little bit more about it on the next page. Page 81? No, I'm sorry. That's 85. Page 85. Okay. Professional. Here you can see in Streeter's shop, there's several of them right there on the cover of the book, hanging on the wall of various sizes. So that's where the idea for this tool came from. Okay, I'm working a little backwards here, but I want to give you a close-up view of this tool and what he did here. First of all, I hope you can see this in the video. Bill has stamped right into, that's the way Bill was. He stamped right into this tool. This tool is capable of doing a 2.5 inch wide piece, 1/4 inch thick. So in this particular demonstration today, I won't be using a 2.5 inch wide. I'm just using some 1/4 inch bar stock of whatever size that I have laying around. But you can do smaller, anything up to 2.5 inch on this particular machine. You could make the machine bigger if you'd like, and I have. Okay. The base plate is made to fit in the jaws of a vise very nicely. You clamp it right in, it's not going anywhere. Then there is the pin that's going to roll around it, and he's put a handle on it. Very important to do, put a handle on it. I like the way he put the handle not concentric, because as you use this a bunch, you can see this one has been abused a little bit, and it starts to bow, that pin. So if you notice when I did the one bend, I took it right before I bent it and I turned the handle up like this, so it's against that bow, so I'm actually bending it back. When you bend that piece around, you have to do this quickly, because that's going to start heating up this pin, and if that pin gets too hot, it's going to bend as well, and it will cam in there, and then you will never get it out. So you don't want to take a lot of time in your bend. Alright? Another thing that I did with my much larger bender, because that was a real issue, because we had such a big plated piece of steel in there, I'm sure Bill used drill rod on this. I would recommend going and getting a grade 8 bolt. That's what I did. I went and got a grade 8 bolt that was very long, cut off the threads, and welded to the head, okay? And that grade 8 bolt held up, because we tried everything. The grade 8 did it, so I recommend that. Sometimes you can put a little never seize on this too while you're working. That won't hurt anything. Smell a little bit bad, but that won't hurt a thing. Okay, so there's those two pieces. I'm going to put that right back in there. Now take a look. This knife blade here, this is why Bill has the Carter pin in here, because when this is apart, that knife blade can come right on out. Now that knife blade has an ever so slight bevel on the edge, so it digs in a little bit. We don't want to leave too big of a mark. We just need to dig in a little bit. Now you can adjust that in by this bolt here, okay? And then how clever Bill just welded a pipe to that, because you need a handle here anyhow, right? So Bill welded a pipe to it, and then you can just turn it in by hand like that, okay? Turn it in by hand. And so when you're putting your test piece in, you tighten it up just till it just touches that piece. And then once the hot piece comes in, you give it 1, 2 at the most. You don't need much if you have the right placement and you have a little bit of a bevel on there. Okay? And then away you go with it. Okay. Now let's see how it looks in action on the vise. Okay, now here it fits in the vise like that. You just put it right in here. Keep it up in the air if you can, a little bit. Clamp it in. Okay? Clamp it in the vise. Now one thing to watch is make sure that this end is hanging out away from the vise enough that your handle can hang straight down. Depending on how your vise is mounted, what vise you're using, sometimes there's obstructions down here. So that has to be away from that so that handle can hang at least straight down. Even if it went back a little bit, it wouldn't be too bad. But usually it's just hanging down when you put the piece together in there. So clamp that in there like that and give yourself room for your handle. Now we'll put the handle on. There's the right way and the wrong way, right? Okay, so the handle, see how this goes over top of that one. Let's get that knife right in between there. Put in our pin, and there we are. Let's look at it from this angle. Let's see that again. We'll put that together here like that, you see? Pin goes through here like that, and this piece hangs straight down. You can adjust that knife edge so we can fit a piece of metal in there. And then when we get it going, it's going to come straight on up like this and around. See, this has to fit in between those right there. So you got to watch out for that. Let's get a piece and fit it in there. All right, here is a hinge I was working on before. We'll use this as an example. You run your piece in like this, and you don't have to go far, just enough for that knife edge that's going to catch it, okay? So you're going to come in just a little bit for that knife edge to catch, and then you're going to tighten it. Now when you tighten it, one turn, you know, just get it till it just touches. You don't have to clamp down on it really tight, okay? And then you're going to lift up on it, and that's going to bring it around. Resist the urge to bring it all the way close. Bring it pretty close, because then we're going to take a special hammer that Bill made with a drift pin in your eye and close it up nice and round so it'll look real good. Go ahead, your first time you're going to run it all the way around, and there it is. It'll be sharp, flat right into the hinge. So be it. You'll learn as you go, and you'll get better and better every time. All right, now this machine is meant for 1/4-inch thick material, to bend a hinge out of 1/4-inch thick material. And it's going to bend the barrel or the eye to go around a 1/2-inch pin. So there has to be 1/4 of an inch from the base of this plate to the edge of this pin. And remember now, this pin then has to be 1/2 inch thick. So if you want to make one for 5/8 or 3/4, that'd be a big rascal, or smaller, 3/8. Remember, that distance has to be the thickness of the material down here, and then this pin is the size of the barrel. That's really all you need to know. Make it wide enough to fit whatever material you're going to use. Give yourself a little bit of room. All right, another thing you're going to notice that the pin is, the table has to stop, and the pin has to hang out a little bit over that table. Out here, okay? So the table stops here, and there's just a little bit of gap, and that's where the pin starts. Because there has to be a place for the knife blade to come up underneath and catch it. And that has to be out in the open right there. Okay, so offset that out in the air a little bit. Make sure you have your depth, your thickness of your material, and the thickness of your pin. That's going to be on your pintle of your hinge. Now I'm not going to bring it all the way down, pretty close. Just there to there. That's fine, that's plenty good. I'm going to tuck that rascal in. I'll just pull the pin out carefully, and there we have it, almost closed up. Now I'm going to put a drift in there, and we will close that the rest of the way out with a hammer. Now when I bring that out, I'm going to put this 1/2 inch drift in the eye to keep it from closing up any more than 1/2 inch. And I'm going to use this hammer that Bill made. See how it has this pointy edge right there? I can get right down in there and tuck that edge into there, back into the hinge, using this little special hammer that Bill made. That's the other part of the tool you really want to have. See how it works. Okay, so I have my tools in place on the anvil ready for me. And we're going to bring this thing over here. Drop the drift in the eye, like that. Center it perhaps. And then just tuck that in like that. See how nicely that works? Just tuck it. Oh, look at that. Just tucked it right in. Beautiful job. See, it's sealed tight. Sealed tight, nice and round, 1/2 inch round, all the same still. Now you got to get that drift out of there is all. There he's gone. Straighten it back out here. And there's a beautifully rolled eye. You don't have to brush that, right? But that's a beautifully rolled eye there. Now, when you're done with that hinge, it's going to be a pretty good hinge, but still, perhaps you want it to be stronger, because this eye could open up under stress. So perhaps you need to make this stronger so that it'll never open up. We have a nice seam right here where the eye was put together, right? And there it is. So what you could do at this point, if you'd like, you could take a welder and weld a nice bead right through there and weld that up solid, and then you'd have a good solid eye. Now when you're done with this hinge, you may want to run a drift through it. Even after you've welded it up, then run your 1/2 inch drift through it, and then you're perfectly 1/2 inch. Now it's been my experience that if it's not welded up and you've just rolled an eye like this and you drift a 1/2 inch and it cools, what's going to happen is your 1/2 inch pin won't fit in it because it has shrunk a little bit. That's been my experience with this eye, and that's the only drawback that I don't like about this eye. What I did to remedy that is I went to the hardware, I bought a 9/16 bolt, forged it into a drift, and now if I were to roll one of these barrels like this, I would get it red hot, and drift it with a 9/16 drift. And then when it cools, it'll shrink down and the 1/2 inch will fit just fine. That's what I've done to remedy that problem of it shrinking and being too small for the 1/2 inch. So keep that in mind. You don't have to do that if you weld it shut. If you weld it shut and you get it red hot and you run your 1/2 inch drift through it, because it's welded, it can't shrink, right? It stays put to that dimension. So you're okay. Same with the traditional method, forge welding your hinge. You don't have that problem. You run your 1/2 inch drift through it and you're done. You're good to go. Now, that's really nice. When you make your first one, don't be frustrated if it doesn't come out like that. My first one didn't either. Look at this. There's my first one. I was so ashamed of it, I cut it off and threw it away. So don't be disheartened when you make this perfect machine and you get your piece and you put it in there and it's supposed to come out perfect like the one on the video. No, it probably won't. It's going to take you at least 2, probably 3 times, maybe more, till you get a feel for your machine and how it works. And you see right there, I gripped it too far back and pulled it too far around, and things are folding over, and it's an absolute mess. Don't be disheartened when you make your first 1 or 2 and it doesn't work. That's fine. You're doing good. Make your machine. Eventually, you'll be doing them like this, and you'll be doing them all the time. And then you'll be going around showing everybody else how it's done. Now, that was just the barrel for the hinge, right? You're going to need a pintle coming off the bottom. Okay, let's say this bar we rolled up real nicely, and that is going to be the pintle. And here's our hinge. Now, to make the pintle, we've rolled it the same way, and now we're going to take a round bar, and I should have a piece of the right stuff here. So now we'll take a round bar and we'll put it up through here and extend it up of the 1/2 inch size that we need. This isn't it, but put it up. I'm using this for an example that we can move it up real easy. You can slide it up through there to the height that we want, that the other hinge, the barrel will go around, and perhaps weld the bottom. Weld it up tight onto there, and you have a beautiful pintle. Let me show you. Now here's that first eye that I rolled, and I've taken and put a pin in it. You can see. You can take now and weld that up right there. Hopefully you didn't weld this up yet. You know, if you're going to weld, leave this unwelded until you've got your pin in place. Then go ahead and weld it up right in through there. Where's my little pointer? Weld it up there. Now look at how beautiful this is. And then here's the second one we did. Drops right in there like that. There. Now we have a really nice operating hinge. And you should see it from my view. Let's take a look at it. Look at this. Look at that. Isn't that nice? So there you have a very clean hinge. Now it's not traditional, remember. This is a fabricated way to make a hinge. But it will get the job done well for your barn, your garage, the corral. Nice, clean, consistent. Okay, so we haven't talked about the other end of the hinge. Sometimes you're going to get into some decorative work, and the other ends you'll want some decoration on them. Here's an example. Here's a larger hinge I did with a little bit of an end. So perhaps you're going to get into doing some Pennsylvania Dutch style, some early American, or other stuff like that. So in another video, let's talk about these tulips and various other ends of hinges to talk about how to get those done. Coming up soon.